Like sometimes, and I have seen it, and it's really sad with medication. Some people are like, "Oh, I'm going through this, and these are my feelings, and blah blah blah." And then the psychiatrist is like, "Oh no, you're not feeling that. I'm going to give you this medication." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. No, the one that is going through that is you. So continue to say, no, this is what is happening to me. These are my symptoms. I'm the one that is going through these symptoms." Challenge the psychiatrist. But people don't dare to do it because they are the expert. And another thing that is happening right now is that the kids are having sex at a really young age. I have had clients that they're having sex at 12, and I have had clients that are thinking about taking the virginity of somebody at 11. Or I'm having a client right now that is watching pornography and he's 10. So it's how everything it's happening in a way that it is not how our generation was before. With the community, what I have seen is that when people from other countries have come here, they're seeking for the American dream, and that American dream, the definition has changed, and some people in other countries are not aware of that.
Welcome to Through Immigrant Eyes, a podcast created by the Center for Immigrant Progress in hopes of amplifying and uplifting immigrant voices. As a grassroots organization, we believe that to empower our community, we must first listen to what they have to say. I'm your host, Karina Alvarez, and today we are joined by Laura Murphy Garcia, here to talk about mental health with immigration.
Hola, Karina. Nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here and talking to us about this very important topic. Yeah. So to get started, could you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about you and the kind of work that you do.
I'm from Puerto Rico. I did my bachelor's degree there in Mayagüez, in la Universidad de Puerto Rico. And then later on, I came here to Chicago to do my master's degree in Adler University in clinical mental health counseling. After that, I was able to do an internship that led me to see how the Latino community needed more people to help. They needed that for them, and I was able to see that need. And I said to myself, "Well, Laura, in Puerto Rico right now, maybe you need this experience. Let's give it a try and see what happens." So I decided to stay, and since almost 8-9 years, I have been helping the community in different ways. I started with the Latino population in Chicago, in Pilsen, where I work with the Mexican community. Obviously, there's other ethnicities there, but the majority are from Mexico. I was able to help more with kids from 5 years old until whatever age. I have been doing couples therapy, family therapy, group therapy. I also have worked as a translator for psychiatrists in order to help the client to get the service that they need. I have also worked in the foster care where I was able to help the population also with the Latino population. Later on, I moved to have another opportunity as a therapist in Highland Park, Illinois, where I was able to have the experience to work with mass shooting victims. It was not something that I chose. It was something that happened in the community that I was working, so it was more something that I needed to learn. Later on, after the mass shooting, I moved to now a new position where I work now as a supervisor, and I have around 5 clinicians under my care. I also help the interns, and I also have my own caseload and help with whatever happens in the facility. So that's mostly what I have been doing for me and for the community as well.
Awesome. Well, I can tell you that the work that you do is very greatly needed in all the communities.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's start off with talking about like what is mental health, and I think a lot of people confuse the terms like mental health and mental illness. So if you could clarify, what are the differences between these two words, and, what is mental health from your perspective?
Yes. Mental health for me is a gift that you give yourself. This is your life, and you give yourself a quality of life. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. So, mental health is a thing that you do for you in order to keep moving forward. Mental illness, like any doctor, right? Because mental health is something that you don't see, right? And sometimes with other illnesses, you see them or they're more visible. But some illnesses, in this case, mental illness, is something that you don't see. But we also have a specialist there, and in order to help the people that are in need. But mental illness is more of the person that is helping you to have a more clarification on how to do a treatment plan for you, or how to know what it will be the best service for you, right? So mental illness is just for us to have like a north on how to move and help you. I know that mental illness, it's seen as something really harsh, which I know that it has changed with, since COVID. I think that COVID helped us to be more of a boom and more of how we are needed in the world, right? So I think that after COVID, people have been more aware of mental illnesses and be more aware of how to manage them. It's not a taboo as it was before. Yeah. Obviously, every country is different. Everything is different in other parts. But in this moment right here, I think that mental illness is seen as something that it's less of a taboo. Less of a taboo than in other places.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of moving into like merging like immigration and mental health. So how often do you get clients that might identify as like undocumented or documented or anything, aside from a U.S. citizen?
Never. Nobody comes like this and say, by the way, I'm undocumented or I'm here illegal. Nobody, at least in my experience, nobody comes that forward. They're really scared in order for them to say those things is a scary thing to say. Yeah. So it's more on how you figure it out on the way of treatment, or sometimes you need to ask them. Right? I know that maybe the secretaries, when in every the secretaries, in order to get the information, maybe they will ask that question a little bit more harsh, like, are you a citizen or not? Because we need paperwork filled or things like that. But as a clinician, somebody telling me that like that blunt, no, it's me figuring out or me asking or something like that, but it's not something that they will say. It's more of a secret.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think everybody is in a different place, right, in their journey and how comfortable they are with that status of being an immigrant. And some people like me, are very open about it and talk about it. But there are also other people who, they will not, say that they are. And there is a lot of fear, right?
Yes. I would say that the majority of the time, the immigrant that it doesn't come here with papers, is more in a survival mode all the time. Is trying to figure it out what to do and how to live because of the lack of resources that they have here. So it's more challenging for them to have, to feel free, to even say it, or to even live a comfortable life. It's like they're hiding all the time. They need to hide. And that's why they don't look for help, or they think that they cannot look for help, or they're scared all the time. So it's fair for them to feel that way because of how the laws are here or how things have changed throughout the years. But at the same time, we should be a little bit more mindful on how to help these people that is also here and they have a right as well.
Yeah. So in working with your clients who you do end up figuring it out that they are undocumented, what kind of things do you see that are very common in the immigrant community when it comes to their mental health?
I will say that obviously there's a lot of varieties. However, I will say that the most common will be depression, anxiety, and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. However, in my experience, I feel that the PTSD is something that they are not aware of it. They're more, they brush it off. You know, it's like, oh, I did it. Like, for example, when they come and cross the border, I have had clients that when the mass shooting happened, they were like, no, like this happened. I'm feeling like this because of the mass shooting and blah, blah, blah. And then when I was in therapy, I was able to get to a point where for him to understand this is coming since before. You were in a country that you had to work as a child. You had to look for money. You had to take care of your siblings. You had to take care of mom. Maybe you saw violence, and then the violence in the community, and then you came here, and you're used to violence. You're used to trauma. But trauma is not something that you should get used to. But sadly, this has been the life that you have lived, right? And there's a thing that you can like, it's not that you can change your life because that doesn't work like that, but also accept all the things that happen little by little. Accepting, I know that it can be hard, right? But it's more on how you keep moving forward from here and now, because the past, we cannot change it. But I can change how I view myself in the future, or how I see the future, or how I live my here and now, which is really important because it's the only thing that we have. The past is, maybe you have heard this, but the past is, if we think about it, it can be kind of depressing. The future, it can be kind of anxious. And the present is a gift. So it's more on how the present is what really matters. This is what matters right now. Later, I don't know what will happen to me, God forbid, right? But later on, something may happen. But right now, this is my reality. And accepting comes with it. And it's also like I was talking to you before, right? In regards on how we see the things in a more positive way in order for it to hurt less. Because I cannot take away a pain, right? Yeah. I can help you to see it in a different way. I can help you for you, if you're crying, I'm here and I will hear you. I will guide you and all this stuff. But at the same time, we need to move on. It's like I will say to my clients, you need to be like Elsa. Let it go. It's not that easy. I know it's a process and a journey, and everybody just has their own. And with your therapist, right? You will go through that journey. And therapy doesn't have an end time. That is more of you when you feel ready, right? So whenever you feel ready, then therapy did the work.
Yeah. And something that I'm curious about is, what are like the different coping mechanisms? What are the different coping mechanisms that you've seen in your undocumented clients, both positive and negative?
Well, I'm going to start with the negative. With the negative, I will say alcohol. It's like something that they use, or drugs. And they look for love in places that are not the best, because maybe they feel that that's the love that they deserve, right? So I will say that those are the coping mechanisms that they're using, the negative ones. The positive ones, I like when in our community the majority of them go to church, or they do activities as family. They have a party all the time for something, which is really beautiful about our culture, right? Yeah. And they also, when they're in a place where they are ready to talk, then I have seen people that they're really using therapy. And something that really is happening more now, it's men going to therapy, Latino men going to therapy, which is really, whenever I see one, I get excited because it's an opportunity for that I have to see a change in the world in a way, you know, because the thing with the Latino men, how they are like really, oh, I don't cry, or oh,
Machismo.
see, like, oh, feelings, emotions, what's that? So it's more on having that opportunity on how they're giving themselves that gift, to also understand that they can cry, they can feel lonely, they can feel that they don't have all the answers, you know. So having that opportunity to be seen, it's just amazing for me. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, of coping mechanisms, support systems. So here with CIP, the Center for Immigrant Progress, we really focus on, systems of care and creating spaces where, immigrants and allies can come together and feel a sense of community. And so, how does it change for immigrants, maybe from their home country, where they have their family and their childhood friends, to all of a sudden, coming to the United States, and it's like, they might have some family members that are here, or they might not, and how does that change, like, affect them?
Oh, well, with the community, what I have seen is that when people from other countries have come here, they're seeking for the American dream, and that American dream, the definition has changed, and some people in other countries are not aware of that, or they're not aware on how being what being an immigrant means here. But it's not, in this case, it's not only immigrant, it's a person that doesn't have any papers, right? So when you are taking that decision, you're thinking, the majority of them that have come through my way, right? They came with these things that they see in the movies. And how I'm going to get this, and I'm going to have this once I'm there. And when they come here and go through the things that they have gone through, crossing the border, or some of them, thank God, don't cross the border walking. Some of them do take a plane and then they stay here. So not all the people that are illegal, that are immigrants, come crossing the border. They also come in different ways, which sometimes is more safer than other ways, because in other ways we can see or hear stories about how even the cartel is involved, or how they get how do you say that? How they get like they take you, and then they're asking for money for your family. So yes, thank you. So it's more on how there's different. It's the same, but it's different stories on their journey. So what I feel is that once they're here and they are able to see what really is to be a person here that doesn't have any papers, it's like excuse my language, but it's like a what the fuck moment. In regards of, like, I left my family, I left my friends, I left my culture, I left my language, because this is a different language. The weather, because the weather is a thing. So the weather, the people, the culture, and knowing that you're changing all of that, and then you don't. Some people go back because that can happen, but some people are like, well, I need to suck it up. And keep moving forward. And that also can bring depression, anxiety, and also, depending on your journey, PTSD. And depending on whatever happens, it can lead to other mental health illnesses. But something that I feel that is really important for people that cross the border is for them to understand that they made a decision that it could have ended their life. They made a decision that they could have get kidnapped. They made a decision where they can have more trauma, and it's really risky. It's really, really risky. And then some people trust the coyotes, and then the coyotes, then they use them for something else, and it's another thing. It's another thing. And since we're in a first world country, we are not aware of these things. I remember that I had a client when I was working with the foster care, that this lady, she was the wife of one of the sons of the cartel in Acapulco. And if you hear the story of that lady, for me, it was like, what happened here? Because she will say to me, Laura, I'm used to opening the door and having seen somebody with grabbing a body and passing the body, or I'm used to seeing heads in cars, or I'm used to see people hanging in bridges with a sign that says something. And that was me then, because this case was also involving DCFS and all that stuff. And it was me trying to help this lady for her story to be heard, for the people to understand that this is that she didn't choose for this to happen to her. It's for them to understand how in other countries the violence is out of control, or they are used to these different. It's not that in the first world country we don't go through trauma, because everybody in a way goes through trauma. Yeah. But this type of trauma is something that we don't see here in the United States. We don't. Yeah. We don't. And the people need to be educated for that, because then they're going to understand more the story of the patient. Because it's not why you're here. It's more like what happened to you that you're here. What happened? Tell me. Let's talk about it. But it's more that way. And if I hadn't had the opportunity to ask her, like, hey, tell me your story or whatever, maybe people in the system will continue to think that she's making things up, or that she's exaggerating, or things like that. When the reality is that no. People don't exaggerate. This is the reality in other countries. It is.
Wow. I'm sure you hear a lot of different types of stories, as a therapist. And
yes.
Yeah, that must be hard. Also on you as a therapist to, listen to and try and figure out how you can support the client, right?
Yes, it's this is a profession that it's really beautiful, but at the same time, it's really it can have a dark place. Mm-hmm. It can have a dark place in regards of like how the things that you hear every day, because the reality is that in our profession, we hear the vulnerability, we hear the sad stories, we hear the people when they are frustrated, angry, or trauma. Yeah. Or even from kids from 5 years old until whatever age. So what it can be something for me small, like bullying at school, if I have a kid, and the kid is more like, I'm having this trouble and all that stuff, like feeling it in a way that the client is feeling it, because that's when you're a therapist and you have the vocation, you kind of feel it, you feel some of the pain. And you're able to understand why is this client having this reaction, or why this client is going through this. And sometimes, and I know that a lot of therapists are not going to agree with me, but sometimes I do cry in a session with them, because I'm human too, and it's sad. The majority of the stories are sad. And the thing with mental health is that when they are okay, and when they're happy, and when they're like strong, then they leave. Mm-hmm. And it's more like you have also that satisfaction that you help, but at the same time you're not able to see more of the happiness. But you learn to like manage it. Is also creating thick skin. Is also you learning that you may have a master's degree or a doctorate degree, but you're not a master in the client's life. Mm-hmm. So the client is the boss. He's the one, he or she or they, them, is the one that it's going to guide you. And some people have the misconception that, and more in the countries where the Latino population come, we have a power. And it's true, we do have a power. But at the same time, you can challenge us. You can tell us like, no, but I think like it's this. And sometimes people don't dare to do that because it's like, how are you going to second guess a professional? And it's part of the culture, right? But it's really important for you to understand that you are the master in your life. You are the one that is going through everything. Even with medication, like sometimes, and I have seen it, and it's really sad with medication, some people are like, oh, I'm going through this, and these are my feelings, and blah, blah, blah. And then the psychiatrist is like, oh, no, you're not feeling that. I'm going to give you this medication. And I'm like, no. No, the one that is going through that is you. So continue to say, no, this is what is happening to me. These are my symptoms. I'm the one that is going through these symptoms. Challenge the psychiatrist. But people don't dare to do it because they are the expert. And it's really important for you to go through that step because this is your health. The psychiatrist is only prescribing and giving medication and that's it. Mm-hmm. But the one that is going through these changes in mood or these changes in whatever, it's you. And that's another thing that I have seen, like in regards of like if people don't speak the language, then the higher, the people that are in these positions, they take advantage of it. And I have seen it in psychiatrists, I have seen it at schools, I have seen it in all the communities, and it's really sad that I'm saying all of this to you, like this part, that on how people get advantage of people that don't speak the language, because it's a thing, sadly.
Yeah, and speaking of like language, we were talking about this before we started recording, is how, at least in the community where I live, there's a lot of Latino immigrants. Of course, there's immigrants that come from everywhere, right?
Yes.
But a big chunk of it is like Latino immigrants. And I'll never forget this experience where we were working together, and we were responding to the mass shooting that had happened here in Highland Park, and there were services being provided for free to everyone to go see a therapist, and there were two lines. There were for the English speakers and then for the Spanish speakers. And I'll never forget, the Spanish speakers were in line for like hours because it was so limited, the amount of therapists that speak Spanish versus those that speak English. It kept going, right? And so I'll never forget that, and that's going to stick with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what drew me to the profession, is like there is such a great need for people in the mental health space, for professionals in the mental health space that speak the language, right? I think you shared with me, I think it's like, what, 8% of therapists?
Last time that I checked, but I haven't checked at this time. So don't quote me that much.
Okay.
But last time, yes, we only have an 8% in the United States of clinicians that speak Spanish.
Yeah, and
only an 8.
And that's Spanish, you know, let's think about like other languages. Like that's even
less.
Yeah.
And in this part, right, it's true what you say, like the services are limited for people that speak other languages. And even for people that have disabilities, that's another story. Because even the people that don't talk, like it's more sign language, like those are even less. So it's more on how there's a disadvantage. There's a disadvantage.
So another thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the difference between generations when it comes to mental health. So I find this interesting because, you know, I myself am an immigrant. I'm a DACA recipient. I was brought to the United States, right, when I was very little. I think I was like 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and my parents were obviously like adults. They were young adults, you know, but they were adults. And it's so interesting to see how different generations deal with it, right?
Yes.
And so I kind of wanted to know a little bit about like your perspective and like what you see, like the differences between, you know, the different generations, those who came, you know, as adults, and then those who were brought as children.
It's really hard sometimes to know that part because since it's a topic that they are quiet about it, asking those questions more deep in a way, it can take more time as a therapist for you to get there in a way. What I have seen in the different of generations, it's more it's more in regards on the expectation that the parents have for the kids, in regards of like, if I came to this country to give you a better future, then you need to do something better. And this is kind of, I understand where it comes from, but at the same time, I know I'm going to sound really weird in a way, but it's also the kid's life. It's his life, his, hers, they, them, it's their life. So they have their own future goals. I remember I had a client that she wanted to be a photographer, but mom said no, that she needed to be an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor, because that's what, it's more money, in their head. That's what is more money, because maybe we can have photographers that can be wealthy, right? It takes time, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The thing is that expectation can bring some problems with the mom, with the parents and the kids, and having that change in culture, that when you bring your kid here is not like how I was telling you, right? Like, they have a different culture. In this case, let's say in Mexico, right? They have a different culture in Mexico. They have a different culture in regards of religion and all that stuff. How is the LGBTQ and all that stuff? But then they come to United States, and United States is more diverse in religion. It's more diverse in LGBTQ. It's more woke. It's different. So it's how they live the culture of Mexico at home, but then when the client leaves, they go to another culture. So it's more how this has brought a lot of distance between parents with their kids, and the kids with their parents too. I have had also clients that their first language, they understand Spanish, but how they can express themselves better is in English. But then mom doesn't understand English, or dad doesn't understand English. So the communication there is lacking. And it's not that they don't want to communicate, it's just that they can't, in a way. And that's something that it's happening. If the parent is not diligent enough, then, which is not their fault either, because some of them have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, or they don't have the opportunity to learn English, or it's more difficult, or things like that. So it's more on how the parent has to be a little bit more aware of how this is going to change also your kid's life, and how it's not going to be the same as you, in regards of like material how they study in Mexico maybe is different from here, not that much, but maybe material and things like that. So it's different. Math can be, I know that math has changed, is something different. I don't know why, but yeah, apparently math changed. But yeah, there's different, the parents need to be more aware on how their kids are in a culture that they also need to grow with society, with the things that are happening. I know that now with this woke culture, now having this liberty here is really different from Mexico. So some parents feel that this is my kid is doing something wrong, or they shouldn't behave like this. I didn't taught them this. And it's true, you didn't taught them this, but the culture outside your home is different. And this is their reality, and they're going to grow with their reality. So that's the part where the generations needs to understand. And if you want to have a good communication with your kid, then you need to push yourself to grow. It's not that you're going to accept it, because I know that some people, especially with the topic of LGBTQ, they're more close with that, but also you love your child. And if that's the decision that they're making, then that's it. I know that I say it like this, really free and really like nothing, if we wanted to say it like that, but it's a challenge. And it's also like a grieving process too, in a way, because you also have expectations for your kids. And when then you see that the story is different, then you also go through a grieving process. And it's fair for you to go through that grieving process. But at the same time, it's for you to, okay, this is not the story that I wanted for my kid. This is the new story. Then let's work together in this story. Because then you're going to lose somebody or get distance from somebody that you created. You created. So it's really important for you to have those conversations and accept whatever comes your way. Whatever comes your way, because we don't know what is going to happen with the life of our kids. We don't know. We can tell them our values and our virtues. That's really important as a parent for you to do. And another thing that is happening right now is that the kids are having sex at a really young age. I have had clients that they're having sex at 12, and I have had clients that are thinking about taking the virginity of somebody at 11. Or I'm having a client right now that is watching pornography and he's 10. So it's how everything it's happening in a way that it is not how our generation was before, that it was more of like if you wanted to see pornography or whatever, you needed to go to the store and buy the magazine, or you needed to just needed to pay for it. It was different. And now it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And the thing is that kids from 10 years old are watching it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've worked with kids before, and sometimes first of all, kids say the darndest things.
They do.
But sometimes they would say something that's, very adult in nature. And I would be like, where did you learn this?
Yes.
But it's, everything is accessible nowadays.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is that since it's accessible, and the thing is that technology is a gift, and I'm glad that we have the technology, but it's also a way that it can go to a really dark place. And if you're not aware as a parent, then your kid is going to navigate whatever comes in that iPad or in that cell phone. So it's really, really important for you, right, as a parent, to be aware of what your kids are watching, what their history. But they're really tricky because the kids know the story thingy, the history thing. So they go and they delete it and all that stuff. So I know that there's some apps that you can call and be like, hey, I want Xfinity, or maybe they have a plan or they have an app and you can control it, because I know that those things exist. So it's really important for you as a parent to put those limits to your kids, because if not, then they're going to grow faster when they should be more innocent as kids, in a way, for them to not be thinking about a virginity, taking a virginity for a girl at 11. What? I was playing with dolls at 11, So it's more on how the change has, the mindset has changed, and how you said it, like things are more available. And it can go different routes. I remember that I had a client that he was just in YouTube watching whatever, and then he found like a girl moaning. And then mom is like, what the hell? What is that? And then it's a kid watching that, and then they're going to have questions. Mm-hmm. And then how do you explain that? So it's more on how having an eye on your kid is going to help you also not to get closer to him, but also for you to make sure that whatever comes his, hers, they, them way, they're going to be able to know their values, their virtues, that's the grain of salt that you gave him, la semilla. I don't know how to say that word in English. Do you know how to say semilla?
Seed.
Thank you. So you're planting that seed. Mm-hmm. So it's really important for you to do it, because if somebody gets ahead of you, if a friend comes and be like, oh, watch this, and this looks good, and blah, 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 then that's the first thing that they're going to have in mind. So it's really important also for us to have conversations that are difficult with our kids at a younger age, mm-hmm. that happen with us, or maybe in some cultures they don't even talk about sex. So in this culture here in the United States, we need to talk about these things sooner, because if not, then the kids are just going to have make different choices. And what we want to do as parents is just to guide them to have a good life. I know that we cannot protect them forever, and I understand that part. But at least having that seed, that is what is going to help them later on with their morale, with what is right, what is wrong, what can I do, what I cannot do, what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. How should I talk to people, Because it's also about modeling their behavior. And the kids are really, really smart. Some people think, oh, they're kids, they don't know what they're doing, or they don't understand what we're saying. They do understand what you're saying. Maybe not like an adult, understand it like an adult, but they do understand what you're saying. So it's more on how we need to take that conception out of our heads in regards of how kids are dumb, because they're not dumb. They're more woke than what we were when we were kids. And if you don't plant that seed of values and virtues, then somebody else is going to do it for you. And that maybe as a parent, that's not what you want.
And speaking of children, another thing I wanted to bring up was the adultification of children in immigrant families, right? Whether that child is an immigrant themselves, they were brought here, or, they're a U.S. citizen. Because it is something that I experienced, and, I have, personally myself, I've tried to work through is, I understand that it's the parents' way of, trying to survive, right? It's like you said, a lot of them might come and not know the language, not know English, and, their child is going to school to learn English, and it's like, okay, now you translate, tradúceme lo que dice aquí, el doctor, or sometimes a government document, and I remember being that child, having to translate something that I don't even know how to translate, and how that affects the child growing up.
And the thing is that it's like how you said it, since they're in survival mode, and they trust, in this case, they trust you, right? More than anybody else on what it says here. It's something that sadly we don't have the personnel that can help these people. Some agencies do have case management. The thing is that some immigrants don't know that either, or they're scared to go and look for that information, because it means giving them something that it's really personal, like a letter of the government or something like that. So they find themselves limited. And since I have a kid that speaks English and it's free, and it's right here with me, then it's easier than doing other things. Sadly, right, this kid becomes an adult earlier in a way. It becomes earlier an adult in life with other responsibilities, or understanding topics that other kids that are in the same school, they don't know maybe what the letter of the government means or whatever. But you know more in that part. But it's taking away, and I know that sounds weird, but it's taking away a little bit of the childhood, of the careless. Because kids are more like, there's not a problem, right? There's not a problem, and we are happy, and let's have fun, and let's play hide and seek and whatever. When you are in the same age, and this kid is just focusing on hide and seek, and you're figuring out how to just translate some things. So in a way, they're taking away that child experience to be a child, which is really sad for both, right? Because I can imagine also the parent also feeling guilty that they're not giving this a childhood, a normal childhood to their kids. It's also painful. Maybe it can still be painful for your parents to make you to go through that in a way, because they know that what they're doing, it's not what it's supposed to happen in a way. You know what I mean? So it's more in regards on how this is also kind of hurtful for the parent as well. Sometimes, depending on the parent too, because some parents, they are not aware of this and they're like, you owe it to me and things like that. So it also depends on the parents. But I have had parents that they feel guilty for using their kids in that sense, right?
Yeah, and I think it definitely can lead to a lot of other problems as adults. I definitely have tried to figure that out and heal myself. Sometimes I'll have a breakthrough, I'll be like, oh, I now understand why I'm like this or why I think this way, and it's because of my childhood, because of, how I had to grow up really quick.
Yes.
And one of the things like that I personally have learned is how, and I think this is common among a lot of people, but it's how I will try to take care of other people before I take care of myself, because of, I'm the oldest child, and so, my parents were working, I had to take care of them. So it's like, I don't have time to think about my needs. I have to take care of my brother and my sister. But now as an adult, I can look back and be like, that was not right,
I know,
and now I have to figure out how to unlearn and undo that, right? So that I can be able to take care of myself, right? And and yeah, so
it's really important, right? I'm really glad that it's a journey, and having that opportunity for you, right, to understand, well, that was not right. Also understanding that in a way your parents didn't have a choice. So it's also for you to see it in a way that is less hurtful for you, because remember, this is your life. You give power for your emotions, your feelings. You're the one that can control them and all that stuff. And in this case in specific, having to go through that, it's more of accepting that that's how it happened. But right now, I'm going to take care of me. Right now, I'm going to put myself first. It's kind of hard also in our culture, because our culture is really family oriented. So being family oriented, and when you say, no, I'm going to take care of myself first, people see it as greedy, Oh, you're being greedy, like you shouldn't. And it's not true, because the one that is going to be with Laura all the time is Laura. Right now, right? The one that is going to be with me is me. So I need to take care of myself first in order for me to help others and have a good quality to help others, right? But I think it's also culturally the one of like, no, I need to think about my family first, and then I think about me later. But doing that breakthrough, I think is part of everybody's journey. It's not that you're not going to be family oriented, right? Because we love our family. It's more on how to put the boundaries and the limits in order for us to not get hurt. Because even if we don't want it or not, our family can sometimes be hurtful. Our family can sometimes not be in our side. And we need to understand that we cannot change other people's behavior, and that what battles I'm going to fight and which ones I'm not, because, for example, if I have if a client has a bad relationship with their father, but they want to get closer with their father, but the father continues to be like mean, then this client, for more that he will like to have that relationship with their father, he needs to accept that his father doesn't want that relationship, and it sucks. It sucks. But also for you to put me continue to think that I'm going to have a relationship with my father, it's hurting me. Then I need to get detached a little bit, and I need to think about me. And that's not bad. And it's something that I think a lot of adults that come from a family-oriented culture go through, because they feel that they have to. And no, you don't have to. You don't. You also can choose a family. You can also choose to have friends by your side, or have a mentor or something like that, somebody that can help you to grow, because that's why we're here in the world. We're here to grow, to have, and I know that I sound repetitive, but it's more of having that quality of life that you can give you, because you're the one that can only do that. This is your life. Make it better.
Kind of going a little bit off of that, as someone who's also studying, to work in the mental health field, a word that I hear a lot, and I think this is very prevalent, especially in immigrant communities, is the word resiliency. Okay. And I feel like there's a lot of talk about that, resiliency. And I feel like that there's like two sides of it, right? And so, I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about, resiliency. What does that look like, specifically for immigrant families, and how can it be a good thing and maybe not such a good thing?
So resiliency, the definition that I will use is more on to continue to keep moving forward, right? And sometimes we need to, I'm going to go first for the bad side, in regards of like, if you are a domestic violence client, and you want to be there and save your marriage and all that stuff, then I can tell you that at the beginning, for example, I can tell you, yeah, continue, keep moving forward, continue to be resilient, you got this. But if this client continues and she's getting a physical abuse or a psychological abuse, emotional, or whatever other abuses that there are, because there are around 7 abuses. So it's more on how you help this client to understand you did your part. You did your part, you were there, but right now, the part of you keep moving forward, it's hurting you. We cannot continue to move forward here, because if we continue to move forward, you can die. If we continue to move forward, you can get hurt. And not only you're getting hurt now, but you can get hurt in a way of violence, physical. We have heard in the news how the men killing women and things like that. I know that it can happen the other way around as well. Domestic violence can come from whichever part, right? So it's really important for you to understand when is your limit, but don't destroy yourself while trying to save something. Don't destroy you, because you at least be fair to say to yourself, I did everything that I could for this, and now it's my time to get out of this relationship. But there's also the resiliency of like, okay, continue to move forward. You got this, believe in you. And things then start to change. Then you continue to root for them. Mm-hmm. So it depends in the situations. In this case, right, it was more domestic violence, but also individually. It's like if you're trying to look for go to college, for example. And right now, maybe what I need to, but I don't have my documents. I'm having a client that is going through that right now. Then, right, what she's doing right now, it's looking for other universities that accept people that don't have documents. But other people don't need to, people that have their papers, they don't need to think like that, because they can apply, and that's it. This client that I'm seeing right now, she even she was removed from the class to apply for colleges. She was removed from that class because of her status. So I talked to her recently, and I was like, how do you feel? Because this can be seen either way. This can be seen as you're not welcome because you don't have your papers, but this can be seen also as like, we don't want, we would like for you to take another class or blah, blah, blah. So depending on how the message was sent, it can be seen as something positive or negative. But in this case, I talked to her and I was like, do you feel that it was like a part of a discrimination? And she was like, at the beginning, yes. At the beginning, yes, because it's like I cannot be in this class. So it's more on how it's more of a challenge for some people to find the resources. So in this case, she's right now she's looking for places to have an education, and then to continue to move the ladder that is going to be more challenging for her. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's impossible, because I know that she has resiliency, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, she needs to fight harder for other things than other people. And sometimes that resiliency can fade away because you don't see the results quick enough. Mm-hmm. So then you can lose hope. then you can lose, like, what am I even doing this for, So it's really important for you to be with people that also believe in you, that you can achieve your dreams, that you can get to where you want to be. This kind of mind, she wants to be a vet. She wants to be a veterinarian. So it's how she's going to get there, but it's going to be more challenging for her due to her status,
Yeah.
which is not fair because she's bright. She's bright. Her grades are amazing. She's an excellent student. But due to that, she can't. So we're cutting hope in a way, We're doing that. So it's more on how resiliency, right, can also be for you to be with people that believe in you, and for you to surround yourself with positivism. And I know, and keep moving forward, because you are the only one that can do something. And you need to, as people that don't have their documents, it's really important for you to understand that you need to move more than other people. Because I know that there's help, right? Because you can go to a township, if there's townships, or you can go to libraries, you can go to the school, you can go to other places and ask for help, ask for case management, ask for where I can find therapy, where I can find somebody that can help me with housing and things like that. Dare to ask for help. I know that it's scary, but at the same time, there's grants that people have. Like, for example, where I'm working right now, we have a grant that it's to help people that don't have any documents, and they have therapy for free.
Wow.
I know. So there's help. It's just that you need to also dare to look for the help. So it's for you to get out of your door, which I know that is a safe place, but also dare to look for more. It's not. I know that, and I know that it can be something that it's like challenging, nerve-wracking. So many feelings that you can have. I remember with them in the mass shooting, the people that got the U visa, because since for the la visa U, if you are part of a crime here in the United States, or if you help with a crime or things like that, you qualify for the U visa. So I remember one of my clients that she was like, Laura, I had to go to the police station, and I run away from them. And me going to the police station, it was like, I felt like everybody knew that I was undocumented. And everybody kind of knew where, like my secret, like my secret. And it was really an anxious moment for her, but she needed to go there in order to get her paperwork for the visa U. So it's how even these, some people, they will be like, me going to the police station? No, then I'm not going to do the paperwork. No, go and do the paperwork. You went through a difficult situation. Go and do it. And then there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of things that makes it harder too, because then it's more paperwork that maybe is not in Spanish, maybe it's in English. And then finding somebody that can translate, or having a therapist that can help you to translate what it needs to be said, or things like that. Because I know as a therapist, people say like, oh, it's only talking about mental health, but it's a lot of everything. It's a little bit of everything. So I know that while I have been practicing mental health, I have helped kids with their homework. I have helped parents with also case management, or reading a letter as well. So also finding a therapist, in this case, since we're talking about mental health, finding a therapist that has the vocation and that can help you with other things too. Because in this power that a therapist has, then it's going to help you to get the resources that you need. But as a therapist, you can do so much more than just talking. You can do much more.
As someone who is studying right now, as I mentioned before, to work in the mental health field, what advice do you have to give to those who are aspiring professionals in the mental health field who want to work with this population of, undocumented people or immigrants?
I will say, first of all, when you start, it's going to be a little bit more hard. And when I say hard, it's just that as a therapist, you hear when you're studying, you are learning through books. But when you go to real life, then that's another story. And it's really important for you as a therapist to understand that you're going to see the pain and the vulnerability in the people. Don't lose hope in people. I will also say for you to try to understand where the client is coming from. I know that we can make as humans, right? We can make some judgments or things like that. And I know that as a therapist, we shouldn't judge, right? We're here to guide you and be an instrument for you. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to let you know of different possibilities that you have. We're here that if you fall, I'm not here to tell you I told you so. I'm here to tell you, like, okay, that happened. You may have a bruise. Okay, check it off. Let's continue, and let's continue to move forward. In this profession, I feel that our population is really beautiful, and it's really colorful. It's really colorful, and you're going to see a little bit of everything. I will say for you as a therapist to continue to grow with the CEUs, the continuing education, for you to open also your own values and or your own virtues and understand where other people come from. Obviously different religions, different faith and all that stuff. So just be aware that what you're doing as a clinician is to help somebody to have a better quality of life. And you putting that seed there is what's going to help you to be a good clinician, and is what's going to help your clients to also remember you. Because when people also talk, so they can be like, oh, there's a good therapist, Karina, from this place. You should go and see her. And that's when you also, because of the good job that you have and because of how you treat your clients or your patients, the word is going to spread. And treat all the people with dignity and understand their pain. But obviously, on top of everything, just be somebody that they can really rely on in this part of like being the undocumented, for us to be that stick, when some people are walking with a stick, that we can be that support. Yeah. And for us to, the ones that really have that vocation, because not everybody can do our job. And also for you to accept that if you start as a new therapist and you see that this is not your calling, maybe you can move to another field of mental health. It's not that you're going to stop helping. It's just that you also need to think about you, right? And if this is not your vocation to be with the one-on-one, or you cannot handle it, that's also fair for you to decide. So don't feel that you're letting other people down, because you can help in the system, for example. You can help with laws. You can help with other things. So maybe that's not what you can do, but you can do other things. So, but dare to also learn. And like how people say, like, that just roll up your sleeves and let's get to it, So I will say, just for you to be that light of hope to our community. Because let me tell you that you can move I know it sounds really weird, but you can move mountains. And I have seen it with the people when I worked with the mass shooting and I was there to help them. They will come with sadness or worry and all that stuff. And once they left my office, it was a change. It was a light, and they knew where they needed to go. And you are that light of hope. And it's really beautiful when you're that light of hope. is really, really beautiful, because that's when you can see that you're making a change in people's life, that they're going to remember you. I have had clients that they say to me, Laura, you are my, like, when I'm hearing my conscience, the voice that comes is yours. And what I say to the kids is more like, have you seen Pinocho? And they're like, or in English, Pinocchio. But have you seen Pinocho? The Pepe Grillo? Do you know how it's called in English?
Cricket.
Like the cricket? Then I'm that cricket. And you can see me there, and I can be your conscious. And it's your conscious in a way to hear the positivism, to continue move forward, to say that you got this, to say that this is only a step back, but I'm strong enough. And those are the things that we can do for our community, help them to see a light. And we can be that light for them. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I have 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap up. So the elections are coming up, and from personal experience, it can bring a lot of feelings of anxiety and uncertainty, especially for immigrants. And so what kind of advice do you have for people who may be feeling that, with this upcoming election? What are some of your suggestions of things that they can do, realistically to support their mental health?
I really, this is a topic, right, that it's really sensitive. For our population, is more nerve-wracking because of past experiences of what the people have gone through, which the truth is that me personally, I don't know how it's going to go, the election, right? And people can say and promise a lot of things, but a lot can happen in their when they're in the power, right? Right now, with the two choices that we have, we know that one choice had already had a term with us in the past, and in the past with our population, he was not nice. He created more chaos. He created. I get baffled with that because of how racism. I know that racism and discrimination is there, but when he was in power, it was more of a boom. It was more of hate.
People felt emboldened.
Yes, it was like, what is going on? And that affected the clients. In that time, I was working more with kids, and that was helping even nerve-wracking for the kids, because it's like, if my father goes out, he can maybe not come back. And it's an anxiety that not all the kids go through, right? And then having a parent that it's an immigrant, but you're a citizen, then they're not going to leave you. There's more legal stuff there that are involved and all that stuff, but it's how they are aware that their fathers or their father or mother may not come back, or that they will lose a family member because of that. So with these coming elections, I will say that let's see what happens first of all, hoping that everybody goes to vote and see what the choice is going to be, and see where that goes. I wish I have like something for you to be like, oh, do this and everything will be good. But the reality is that we need to wait. And when that moment comes, then we're going to be able to understand what will be our route to go. But what I will continue to say is that resources are there. There's like, I know that the budgets can be cut and all that stuff, but there are budgets in other places. So don't lose hope that you can have somebody that can help you. It's going to be more challenging if this person comes back in power. Yes, it's going to be more challenging. It's going to be more nerve-wracking, and it's going to bring maybe past trauma, right? Because it was traumatic for our population. It was traumatic, and for the undocumented too. So it's more on how, when that happens, then we can help them to see other resources, or wait 4 more years for something different to come. So in that part, I will say that we need to wait, but look for the help. Look for the help, and try not to be that scared. Try not to, because I know that I'm asking for a lot.
Yeah. I think it's more important now than ever to surround yourself with support and find your community.
Find your community, and also love your community, because some people, even when this was happening, they were like, why am I, second guess themselves in regards of like, I shouldn't, like, why am I a Latino? Why do I have my identity? And they question it and things like that. So it goes beyond other things too.
Yeah.
Be proud of being a Latino. Be proud. And be proud to be bilingual, please. Because some kids, they don't want to speak the Spanish. And what I tell them, it's like, you have a gift. You can communicate in 2 languages. And that's not something that a lot of people can say. So be proud of being bilingual. You can make so many friends from different cultures. And it's not that if you only know one language, you cannot make friends, but you can. But it's beautiful being bilingual. And if you have an accent, then that makes you more exotic, so whatever,
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time and for sharing your perspective and your expertise with us on this topic. I think that there's definitely a lot more, that we could talk about.
Oh, yes.
But we'll leave it at that. So thank you so much, Laura. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And for the people that are hearing us, I just want to say that believe in you, look for help. You're not alone. There's people with this vocation that they really love their job. So find these people and try to just get what you need. And continue to move forward and have that resiliency, the positive one, and continue to move forward. And you got this. Believe in you.
Well, thank you all for listening to today's episode. Make sure to keep up with our socials at the Center for Immigrant Progress to check out when we have new episodes coming out and to check out our community events. Thank you.
Thank you.